Hi guys, I'm back with the next Quincy story, and this one's called Quincy Moves to the Desert. Quincy was a little red horse. His coat was the color of a new penny. His mane and tail were long and shiny. His eyes were soft and brown. On his nose was a long white blaze. Quincy lived in a tan and white barn. There were many horses in the tan and white barn. Quincy's best friend was an old brown horse named Bo. Bo liked to talk and tell Quincy about the places he had been and the things he had done. When Quincy had a problem, he could talk to Bo. A man named George owned the tan and white barn. He was good to the horses who lived there. He taught horses and people to ride. Quincy liked to see George and Bo stand at the fence and watch him trot around the ring behind the tan and white barn. George's barn had lots of things that horses need. There were brushes for grooming and picks for cleaning feet. There were racks for saddles and hooks for bridles. There was a shelf for medicine if a horse got sick. Quincy was happy in the tan and white barn. Quincy's owner was a lady named Cam. She was Bo's owner too. She lived in town, but she came to ride them almost every day. She combed their manes and brushed their tails. She cleaned their bridles and polished their saddles. Sometimes she even brought them apples. Quincy loved Cam. One afternoon, Cam came to the barn. It was almost dark. It was too late to ride. She did not stop at Quincy's stall. She went over to Bo. She opened the door of his stall and went inside. Quincy wondered what she was saying to Bo. Suddenly, Quincy heard another sound. The feed cart was coming. It was time for hay and oats. Quincy loved hay and oats. He would wait to find out what Cam was saying to Bo. When he had eaten, Quincy turned and peered through the bars at Bo. Bo came to the wall near Quincy and said, "We're going on a big trip. We're going to the desert, far away from here." A big trip? The desert? Quincy had never been on a big trip. He had never gone far away or seen a desert. He asked Bo, "Are there horses in the desert?" Bo laughed. "Horses are everywhere," he said. Then Quincy asked, "Why do we need to go far away?" Bo said, "The desert is in the west. The west has wide open spaces and trails as far as you can see." Quincy could not picture the trails in the desert. The only trails he had ever seen were in the forest near the farm where he used to live. Then Bo said, "There are many things to see in this big country. We will have a great trip. Now let's get to sleep." See that big truck? Soon the day came for the long trip. George led Quincy and Bo through the barn door. In the driveway was the biggest truck Quincy had ever seen. It had windows and a big ramp that hit the ground with a bang. George walked Quincy and Bo up the ramp and tied them in stalls. It was time to say goodbye. George patted Quincy and hugged Bo. He said, "Don't worry, the driver will take good care of you." Then he pushed in the ramp and pulled the big door shut. The big truck drove down the highway. Sometimes the road was smooth. Swish, swish, swish. Sometimes the road was bumpy. Clunk, clunk, clunk. Sometimes Quincy took a nap. Sometimes Quincy stretched his neck. He looked out the window to see what he could see. As they rode across the country, Bo told Quincy about the places they saw. He told Quincy that the country has many states and that each state has a name. Every day they were going to drive through new states. On the first day, the truck left New York and came to Pennsylvania. Here's New York, and there's Pennsylvania. Out of the window, Quincy saw a strange sight. A man in a yellow straw hat was using a team of horses to farm a field. Bo said, "Those are draft horses. They are big and strong. They like to pull." Bo told Quincy that the man in the hat was an Amish farmer. Bo said the Amish work hard, but they do not use tractors or cars. They need horses to do their work and even to drive their buggies down the road. Quincy wondered if he could pull like that. Do you think Quincy could pull like that? It's a strong horse, isn't it? Each night the truck stopped and the horses got off. They had stalls and a barn where they could lie down and sleep. Soon Bo told Quincy they had left Pennsylvania and passed through Ohio. The truck was coming to Kentucky. Bo said, "Kentucky's the home of the racehorse. Many racehorses are thoroughbreds. They are fast and they like to run." Bo told Quincy about the starting gate and cheering crowds. He told Quincy about the winner's circle and the big silver trophy. That night, Quincy dreamed he was a racehorse coming down the track. Next morning, Bo told Quincy about many other kinds of horses. He told Quincy about standardbreds, that's this one, with their heads held high. He told Quincy about Arabian horses, that's this one, in fancy costumes. Gypsy vanners, that's this one, with long hair on their legs. Appaloosas, that's this one, with spots and golden palominos, just like Oliver, and paints. Next, the truck turned west. So it went through Ohio, which is here in this little crack, and Kentucky. And then it started going west. It started going this direction. Through Missouri and Kansas and Oklahoma. This was the longest day on the road. Quincy was getting tired of this big trip. He was tired of learning about new states and different kinds of horses. He missed New York. He missed George in the tan and white barn. Most of all, he missed Cam. Quincy asked Bo, "Where is Cam?" Bo said, "Don't worry, we will see her soon." Quincy felt excited. He hoped Bo was right. At the end of the day, the truck came to the state of Texas. It stopped at a red and white barn called the Happy Trails Horse Motel. The driver led Quincy and Bo down the ramp and tied them to the trailer. Bo was so excited that he could hardly stand still. He told Quincy that Texas was the state where he was born. Quincy was surprised. He said, "I thought New York was your home." Bo said, "Texas is the home of the American quarter horse. I am an American quarter horse. I took a big trip to New York a long time ago." There's Bo. Then Bo said, "Texas is also the home of the Western horse. Many Western horses are American quarter horses. They are smart and they like to work. An American quarter horse can do anything." Bo told Quincy about cowboys and cowgirls. He told Quincy about rodeos with calf roping, bucking broncos, barrel racing, and bull riding. He told Quincy about long rides on winding trails that went as far as a horse could see. Quincy decided he was going to rope a calf. That night, before they fell asleep, Quincy thought about the places he had seen and the states he had crossed. Quincy asked Bo, "What state is the desert in?" Bo answered, "The desert is in New Mexico." So this is Texas. They went through Texas, and this is New Mexico. Then Quincy thought about all the different kinds of horses he'd seen and their different jobs. He knew that every horse needs a job. Quincy asked Bo, the most important question of all. What kind of horse am I? What kind of job will there be for me in New Mexico? Bo said, you are an American quarter horse, just like me. A good quarter horse can do anything. The next morning, the driver led them up the ramp. The truck turned onto the highway for the very last day. When Quincy looked out, he saw a beautiful sight. Quincy saw sky that was blue and cliffs that were red. He saw rocks that were white and trees that were green. There was a trail stretching across the desert as far as he could see. Finally, the truck slowed down and rolled to a stop. The driver opened the big door and pulled out the ramp. Quincy looked at Bo, and then he looked out. At the bottom of the ramp stood Cam. She led Quincy out of the trailer onto the desert sand. He was so happy, he did not know what to do. I hope you enjoyed our second Quincy story.